Mic podcast. I am Jimmy P. I don't want to talk to the mic. I'm just yelling because I like to yell. If you're watching video, there's no lights yet, and we're gonna fix that. Little technical difficulty, but if you're listening to audio, you shouldn't give a shit. You should have your eyes closed and just hear our voices and go for the ride. I'm gonna go left to right. We got the gang is here. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Tau Bennett.
Official producer of the mic, of the podcast.
Jimmy People's podcast.
The People's Mic podcast.
The People's Mic podcast.
Yeah.
A lot of words.
When did this happen?
Keep going new. You gotta keep new stuff happening,
Yeah,
right?
bro.
To
When
keep
you
growing.
gotta drop a newsletter, Jimmy.
Yeah, I got the People's Mic website, but I haven't actually delved into. I wanted to do a newsletter. I wanted to do a People's Mic guide too.
Oh.
Like different things, like People's Mic guide to being a new comic, or People's Mic guide to how to eat healthy.
Yeah.
But
Well, dude, honestly, man, like,
it's in the brain. It's in the.
Yeah,
It's gonna come.
I definitely think that there's like a real space for like interviewing comics about this so scene shit, because I feel like that's the thing that's taking the biggest hit during the pandemic. And people think like, oh, like scene shit's like sucks or whatever, but it's like, no, that's a mythology.
It's evolving.
Yeah, well, and it's a myth. Like when you listen to like Mark Maron or any of these other guys, Joe Rogan podcast before, or hear him on O&A, like you be like, oh shit, like you're like, oh, like that person has this relationship with this person. It ends up being like a Marvel cinematic universe. But like as we move into like what I'll call like more like a clipped form of comedy, the hang culture around comedy is kind of de-emphasized. But I think that's like one of the coolest things about comics is we all fucking know each other. Like that's the weird like that. There are other art forms. It's not like that. Like rappers don't really hang like that. Artists don't really hang like that. Jazz musicians sometimes, but like it's a what about a puppet?
Yeah, it's actually a very small world.
Yeah, but you guys hang, right?
You guys hang.
No, we hang without puppets. We
You can only hang with puppets. Just walking in a room, just a bunch of guys just fucking chilling out.
They're not even talking to each other. That's so that's a fucking dope sketch.
Puppet hang.
Yeah, like just.
We gotta do. I did want to do like People's Mic page, like sketches. I want to do sketches and do the heavy fucking.
Yeah, bro.
Fucking thing. Is that live?
This is live. I just want to let you guys let you know. I just put it on my live, so I'm just gonna make sure it's somewhere.
Can you put it live?
I don't know how to link it, and I'm not.
No. I was gonna say put it on your tripod. I'll get you a tripod.
I mean, you want to throw a tripod? You got one up there?
I always got a tripod. I got carry 3 tripods.
So I'm Tau Bennett, and you are?
My name is Patrick Golden. I was standing in front of the comedy shop right before this, about to do open mic, and it's my man Brandon. He's like, "Hey, you want to come to this?"
You're
podcast?"
always welcome.
And I was like, "Hell yeah, this is gonna be way more interesting than what's going on next
Patrick,
door."
you're always welcome. You bark. You be starting.
Yeah. So I just started barking for Jimmy's show. His show is every single Friday night here at midnight at the Bitter End. It always brings in a good crew. And I know last week we had like a bunch of random comics that either performed or were there just to watch that like came and joined me in bark. Yeah. So we had like basically like free bark spots. Don't do that. I don't know what they were doing. They showed up and were like,
I'll give you an idea because everybody thinks they can bark. And I was like, then it becomes a mess.
For sure.
If they want to help, you come sit and hold the seat until you come and tap them out.
Barking builds character, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just fucking love that I've done that in my fucking life and shit. Like, it's just like, it's always one of those things where it's like, I'm trying to get people to the show.
it's like you're performing stand-up for the street, basically.
And like, you just have like a long ass open mic set. I mean, there are people on the street who are more interested than people at open mics.
For sure. Or even more interested than maybe necessarily everybody that walks in here sometimes. Because, sometimes there might be people like, they're drunk already or they're watching their phones in the back. But sometimes it's the ones standing next door that'll be looking at just the door people, just entertaining. And you can make their night better.
Yeah.
And what's your name?
Before I say that, can I say real quick? I have a very love-hate relationship for barking. Just on a comedic level, when I start talking the business of comedy, and I bring up how weird the business of comedy is. It's honest in quotation marks. Should we put this further, or we'll just go find a place we can have put everybody in it. You might be better at that. Like somewhere we can see how everybody be seen. It might not be like the best camera angle, but
You got it.
you can bend it a little back. Hold on, let's see.
You can also maybe move that table a little bit to the right.
Well, I think this one does the little bendy thing, so maybe we can.
I love how people listening for the first 2 minutes of listening to like the podcast get a symbol.
This is how it's done?
This is how it's done. This is what happened behind the
Oh, okay, I
scenes.
see how
This
this
is our
This is the
podcast.
director's cut.
This is straight to Patreon.
Put it here.
I was gonna say, what about a stool? Maybe you can put a stool like right here. Would that be okay?
Yeah, put a stool. Just hurry up and do it.
Yeah, I got you.
It's a ridiculous thing to do.
Yeah, no. The other one was small. I'm trying to find something to elevate it at least.
All right, do it for next time.
Yeah.
Or put it on the piano. I don't know if that's
From behind us.
from behind.
Hey, if you're watching this, you know I do this from behind. So I mean, it's okay. It is a
I'll
thing.
get you a better shot next time.
It's okay. You can see it's there. She might
Oh, my arm looks massive, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. angle.
Jesus Christ.
He's gonna keep looking
Yeah,
over
I
it.
love
He's
it.
supposed to see himself.
Okay. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Sir Godzilla Von Bomber the Noosh. I have many jobs on this planet and across the multiverse. Currently, I am on a quest of world domination of your planet Earth because it is necessary. Because I'm not sure what dimension or timeline I'm from. I'm not really. I mean, again, we travel the multiverse for just whatever time is whatever time is. I'm not really sure it's bullshit. But you just kind of get lost in the you lost in the mix sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, I use that energy to funnel my next trip to wherever the fuck the universe or the cosmos puts me into the multiverse and then do whatever it has me do. Sometimes I'm a werewolf. Sometimes I'm
That's how you spin out control.
yeah. So here I am.
Aliens and werewolves.
So yeah, and here I am. I'm here just. I mean, to be honest, your world kind of sucks. It's not that it doesn't. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's all lovely. But apparently, abortion rights and shit. So I mean,
It's all distracting.
climate change. And then, you know what? You know.
Let
here's-
him introduce himself.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Also, I'm sorry. And I know
30
Jimmy.
30 seconds.
I got you.
30 seconds.
How I know Jimmy is Jimmy is my pimp, and because I need to make money. I'm on my job, so he's my pimp. So also pimp. He's my mentor. So all right, let's.
Don't put that out there. Jimmy is my pimp.
I mean, I'm a sex worker, and you can talk to Jimmy about negotiating transactions of a physical nature.
I'm trying to put my name on every fucking thing. I don't need no more shit in my head. Do it.
Yeah,
It's one of my spirit
I
animals.
love that I'm on a podcast with someone from the multiverse.
Wakanda family.
Yeah, that's dope. No, I'm Billy Beteet. I'm on this podcast.
Cool shit. I don't know. Well, we won't have to say that. We're still calling you West Side Wolf.
I'm down. That's like,
I was like, he just handles shit. He gets shit done. And Bill's like, yo, I got you. 5 minutes. He's like, yeah, it's done. I was like, oh.
That's gonna stick. From now on, if I see him, like, hey, Wolf, what's up?
yo, dude, yeah, hey, dude, that's what's up. Dude, Wolf is number one, the coolest dude in Pulp Fiction.
Oh
So,
yeah,
dude, like
Wolf's the
that's.
shit. I'm a wolf shark, so that's my thing.
What is that?
I don't know. It's just the two animals that I merged together. Those are my spirit animals.
Your spirit animal is like fusion hot.
Yeah, fusion, hot. Yeah,
I'm with that.
great
Imagine
black
a shark but with paws.
with paws. Half shark, half wolf.
Man bear.
Yeah, okay.
Some Pisces.
I can actually see that is Jimmy. I can just see Jimmy in the water, like, what, you're not gonna do it? What, you're not gonna do it? What, you're not gonna do it? You're not gonna push-ups? You're not gonna shark push-ups?
Dude, wait, did that place close? Otto's?
No, it's not closed yet.
Actually, no, not at all.
They just don't want to call me back. Oh, they don't. It ended for. I want to move on. Everybody's like, yeah, go back. No, we don't go back. Go forward.
The mic scene seems like it's developing again.
It's
You
evolving.
need to do it there
Yeah.
again.
Everybody wants to go back, but
What's it like? I don't know.
Battles. It's just a back room.
It's a hell bar. Yeah.
Where is it? What part of the city?
It's 14th Street.
14th.
14th. Between A and B.
Yeah.
A and one and A.
One and
And
A.
you used to produce or do things there? Or?
Let's just do. Let's do podcasts and show it every day.
Wow. Wow.
Podcast, yeah, every day. Yes,
Wow.
every day. Monday well, technically you didn't do it Saturday.
I didn't do a Sunday. I
did Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday we went to Niagara.
Yeah.
They definitely don't want us there.
What happened?
I don't know if they know what they're doing, but they just keep going back. They're like, no, we're not good.
Can I have a comment? This is something I've mentioned, and I've said this before to a bunch of comedians, and I'm gonna say this to you because you all are like intelligent human beings, or beings. I think one of the weirdest problems that we as comedians have is the payback system. I think it's weird that there are with musicians. Like I've noticed that there are like a lot of musicians that they go on to like invest like millions into building more musicians. Not to say that they're doing it intentionally, but they know the importance of music. They go build music schools and for music programs. They literally go buy fucking instruments and just hand them out to people. You know what I'm saying? Comedians, it's weird for us because it doesn't happen that way. And I've always commented on how strange our career path is. Because our career path is an awkward one. There are people, I say this all the time, and if you've talked to me enough times, like you've heard me say this enough, there are two sides to comedy. There's the theory of comedy and the business of comedy. The theory of comedy is rule of threes and slapstick, and Buster Douglas. The business of comedy is asses and chairs. Because of that, it's the basic line, asses and chairs, how that breaks down to a financial standpoint. The weirdest problem that happens is that on this path, this weird, strange career path that we're on, if you can combine those two elements properly, you may end up like in the 1%, the literal, actual 1%. Jerry Seinfeld, you know what I'm saying? Jerry Seinfeld, Dave Chappelle. All these people, like they were doing comedy in these clubs, in these streets, sleeping in the same bum areas we were, and now they are living the dream, like the American dream.
I just want to say this one thing, but I think one of the things, and it's a steelman, I agree with everything that you're saying, but like with like Jerry Seinfeld, Tim Allen, a lot of these guys, they didn't even really do that much stuff. Like when you talk about like their journey, there was just less competition. Tim Allen had attendance. Oh, this is great. Whoa.
You did it.
Or could I also talk into something like Brandon? I'm curious, like, how do you feel like
the lighting rules, ready?
The green, not the green. It doesn't really make. Yeah,
It's
it
not
looks
easy.
funky. we had a discussion about what the green light does.
How do you think the digital world plays into like the comedy? I guess moving up in comedy now, because I feel like you can become a famous comedian these days just off like TikTok if you somehow get the right following.
Okay. This is always
It's just a new branch.
It's just a new branch. It's a muddy water to me because someone had the same conversation about Charlie Chaplin. You know what I'm saying? Somebody sat there one day and said, "Hey, Charlie Chaplin, just because you do some shit on some camera doesn't mean you're doing any acting, or that acting is funny." You know what I'm saying? Nah.
Yeah.
You know, and again, his craft is how he makes it, and years later it aged beautifully. I don't have the problem with TikTok per se. I have the problem with the marketing, the usage of the algorithm.
I have a problem with comedians who didn't, because before I was like, yo, we gotta get on this shit because we should be dominating
Right.
in TikTok. And comedians are like, no, I'm not doing TikTok.
No,
I'm not
it's-
Yeah, well, because comedians are boomers, right? Like that,
Yeah.
and that's why we're the most capitalist thing. Like all the,
Me, I'm not big on it.
like, and all the institutions that are left, the comedy clubs, a lot of them that treated comedians right went bankrupt. Like.
Yeah.
So
Did they?
we have a lot of clubs, dude. I know New Zealand comics who are full-time comedians after 4 months. Like we exist in this kind of poverty setting because we're also in environments where Aziz Ansari is going to perform later that night. How are you going to ask for fucking more money? And there's such a glut of people, and you also have a lot of people who are loners. Like it is weird to be a comedian. It is not a normal decision. There were in a class of 2,000 people, there may be 1 or 2 people who ever tried open mic, let alone be part of the scene. So it's already like a person who didn't necessarily ingratiate in all these other spaces. You find yourself in this community, but in this community, everyone's kind of like, yeah, but quit. Like, you know, and yeah, oh, that's funny, quit. Like, and so it's interesting, but that funny part is also, we all hang. We all hang more than all the other people, so it's just a weird thing where it's like, musicians give out like instruments to people they don't know. Comics won't even give an opportunity to someone who they've been like in the trenches with for like years. And that's also because the opportunity is so scarce. Like television, all the money moved out, right? So like and you can't connect an individual comedian unless you're Dave Chappelle, whatever, to actual streaming subscriptions being signed more. So like the avenues are like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, because that's the only way you're really going to be taken care of. You don't even have royalties anymore. You don't have royalties. A lot of this stuff, they're not, the media chains aren't even hearing it, right?
It changes your target audience.
Big part
it does.
It changes your target audience.
Yeah,
If
what
you
do you
don't
mean?
change your material,
Do you have a god mic up there?
if you don't change your material to talk to millennials, then you're out.
Exactly.
We don't evolve.
Yeah, but
think-
also I think Gen Z, like comics don't know how much Gen Z is different than millennials, especially if you're not on TikTok. Gen Z, because you don't hang out.
No, it's not that. No, hold on. I disagree with that statement, and there's one reason why. Because I'm a huge supporter of nerd comedy, and I think that nerd comedy falls into Gen Z. But the only reason why it does is because nerd comedy is the sneak. Nerd comedy is the little bit of kind of comedy that exists everywhere. For whatever reason, we watch like 80s movies, like 80s pop fiction, pulp culture, and that's really where it is. The problem that we're having today is that we're having a lot of social conversations about comedy, and that social shit is not really actually being addressed. It's not funny. Steven Crowder is not fucking funny, and if you do Steven Crowder,
He's the guy that has changed my mind. He goes to college campuses and he'll have like a debate topic. And it'll usually be like he's trying to push a button. It'd be like, there's only 2 genders. Change my mind.
got it. Okay. Now, and I bring that up because that schmuck is a fucking comedian. And that kind of comedy is the same kind of
It's his
comedy.
comedy.
No. It's not
comedy for the right. It's
No.
the right's comedy,
It's a different kind of comedy. One call it conservative comedy, whatever. But there is a rage. I use this part of it. I call rage comedy. It's called rage. When you throw like rage comedy is a scary comedy. It's the spookiest kind. It's one of the one. It makes Andrew Dice Clay's. And Andrew Dice Clay was fake. Okay, Andrew Dice Clay was a fucking character. Okay, he went on stage and dressed up and did all this schmucky shit. But a lot of people listened to that shit, internalized it, walked the fuck away with it, and then went home to abuse their wives. And again, it is an identifier. The issue that we have with certain parts of comedy, and this is the theory of comedy. We'll get to the business. Business is some other bullshit. We don't get money handed out to us because this is the fucking Hunger Games. Okay, they have us. I've seen motherfuckers. I have had to do comedy after. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're supposed to be funny, right? So let's have some fun. Okay. I've had to do comedy after watching fist fights. I've had to do comedy after watching.
But that's comedy.
That's not comedy. That's capitalism. Okay, that's fucking capitalism. And again, like I've said, I would love to.
If they have a real boxing match and do comedy.
No. Like I've seen some shit like okay, random joke. Comedian that I've seen often, a very funny comedian. I'm like Adam Amata. He was doing he did like a Instagram story, right? In the background of the Instagram story, in the front ground is the open mic. In the background, the guy's getting arrested. And in the front, the guy is at like the second video is like
recently?
Yeah, it was like yesterday, like him asking for tips, right? The second was him asking for tips while this was happening. Now I get that might be like funny, whatever it was, but like that's kind of the mentality we have. I've been saying this over and over and over again for the last few days. We as comedians are schmucks sometimes because one of the problems that makes us schmucks is we have little to no emotional fucking empathy. Like this terrible shit happens. We gotta go and make jokes about it. You know what I'm saying?
Because we see so much of it because we're consuming it.
No. It's not just because we see it. Everyone sees it. We're not the only ones experiencing this. The problem is that we have to be the first to turn around and commodify it. We're one of the first to commodify it. But the day after,
I gotta talk about this first.
Day after
Everybody else does
because
it's my bit. It's my
day after the Buffalo shoot. Oh, we're all sitting there like, how we gonna write a Buffalo?
Hey, you've all been I got my.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? We're on the race. We're on a race to make a laugh.
As soon as Will Smith raised his hands, comedians were like, oh,
Twitter time. You know what I'm saying? Like you got we commodify tragedy. We are one of the fastest motherfucking groups in the world. Okay, and this doesn't even go into the other like what makes us schmucks like how the Harvard like the rage comedy, which comes from the Harvard feelings that we have, the transphobia, the pedophilia that we have not. I fucking spit a finger and say 3 out of 3 that more than enough of these motherfucking comedians in this place. They got pedophile jokes. Why? Why do we all have to have fucking joke about diddly kids?
Make a point.
There is the weird side of the comedy that we fuck around on. That's theory side. There's the weird side of the comedy that we fuck around on. That's the business side. The business problem that we have, motherfuckers don't hand back sometimes. You know, comedy schools and comedy schools my women expensive. I heard years like people complain about. I never got to go to UCB. You know what I'm saying? I would love to have gone, but it looked really expensive. It was really hard. There are problems. You know what I'm saying? There are issues that come up with part of like the marketing side of comedy, which come up with us being thrown into this motherfucking tiger pit. And who's first to make out alive? We're gonna give you 5 minutes on stage. And if you know what I'm saying? Yeah, right. This is the mentality we have to build against each other, which is what makes us so like love you and stab you in the back.
But to your point about like the difference between Gen Z comedy and like millennial comedy, that the idea of putting everything into these like categories. Like I think Gen Z comedy is
anti-category.
Yeah, just like funny is funny. Whatever the fuck you find funny. Like I talk about all kinds of dumb shit. I talk about milk on stage. I talk about like Muppets. I talk about whatever the fuck. Because funny is funny, not because I'm like trying to cater to a certain group or feeling or like whatever the emotion or the area is of a present moment. I don't give a shit. I don't fucking care. We all see that. Everybody knows what's going on. You know?
But it's about good.
No, I just want to say, like, I think like millennials and Gen X were very structuralist generations, right? Everything had its category. Dude, there were black movies in 2008. Motherfuckers had like, bro. I remember, like, I had a roommate and his girlfriend segregated our DVDs. That's just what. But I was also in the South. Whatever. But like, those kind of things are happening less and less. Yeah, everything like that non-binary kind of. Like thinking non-dual thinking, I think permeates Gen Z, and I think a lot of times, like when I say this, is there's a lot of culture happening on TikTok that is just not making its way to Instagram and Reels. And I think that one of the things when I have friends who are siloed by age with people who are just around their age, they just don't realize how out of this they are. And comedy, the scary thing about comedy I worry about is there is an air of sincerity with Gen Z that I think is good for the planet, but bad for comedy.
You gotta compartmentalize that.
I feel like they're hurting certain issues.
Yeah.
Just letting it fucking grow.
Okay. I would like for you to delve a little further into that. Like, there's something there that I disagree with, and I'm trying to find it exactly, and I'm trying to word it properly.
Yeah, no.
And it just, I don't want it to come off because I've been like words have been used in the last few days. So, but like could you emphasize those a little bit more?
Yeah. So, like in my experience with my friends who are Gen Z, there's like a less of a reflex to laugh at something that is strictly ironic. Just like it kind of, there's an air of like, oh no, you just said this really fucked up thing out loud. It wasn't like the concept of like, oh, you're being ironic that I'm saying this thing, and there's kind of like a humorlessness. But that humorlessness is coming from like, no, things have been fucked up for a long time, and these jokes aren't prescriptive anymore. And that kind of feeling where it's like that's kind of just some of the experience that I've been having.
Okay.
I don't think about shit. I'm like,
See,
let's just make this happen.
You're Gen X, right?
Yeah.
Right, but again,
my sister's Gen X. It's like very little reflection. Just do what you got to do, and like shit sucks sometimes.
Decide first, and if it doesn't work out, it's like fucking scrap it.
Yeah.
Try something else.
Whereas I think like Gen Z is a very meta generation. Like it's very like.
It's like, why would you do that?
It's like that double intentionality. Like, oh, I can perceive how someone else would perceive this event that I am currently perceiving. And I am letting you know that I'm aware of these other things, so you know that I'm actually inside on the joke. And like that's because like that's why a lot of humor online doesn't make sense, because it's all about these like inside.
So referential.
Yeah.
But I don't. And here's my issue with that. The only problem I have with that is that I think you're doing the categorization, using the categorization by not seeing the failure behind it. Like TikTok isn't the only primary form of media and entertainment. And the problem is that actually it's the starting gate. Okay, right now in this conversation, you're using like TikTok idea, like the idea like millions of people have these followers are making it, and when it can be monetized, and in some ways, a lot of like the people who are doing YouTube and the higher ups of like TikTok who found a way to get that endorsement on the other side. And generally, technically, people on TikTok are doing shit on like 5 or 6 or 7 other sites. So the TikTok is the only thing. TikTok's really for a lot of us, including like comedians or lower forms of this, it's the starting gate. It's where people see you, and the millions of followers become the attraction introduction. The issue that
you monetize yours?
Yeah. So I just accepted like a 6-figure job because of it. Like in terms of like
He's like, just so you know.
Yeah, but like also like just a lot of brand deals and stuff like that are like so when I say this, it's like when I encourage comedians to do this, they have no leverage otherwise. So I go into a situation. I have leverage. I have proof of concept. I have when those people have an idea of me before they interact with me. And like the thing is that a lot of comics are calling for a system that was actually more unfair, because there was the one black guy thing that still like Godfrey carries around of like that like lived a lot of people's careers and all these other things. When there's a billion inputs happening, a billion people are showing up to one channel, and that channel is like, dude, make whatever the fuck you want, and if people like it, we'll show it to 100 million people, and you can shoot this at your crib while taking a shit. That has never before been seen, and it's completely up comics alley, because comics. The hard work that comics do is living with who they are. Yeah. But that's not the same as what a sculptor does. Like when you watch it, when people say, "Yeah, well, I'm working on this joke."
It's easier. And I think one of the weirdest problems about TikTok is that because what we do is actually easy, TikTok expands that to people who aren't comedians. Yep. We're competing with people who aren't comedians. We're competing with writers. We're competing with people who want. And again, and I understand this because this is people on the long track. I've always knocked down my wood. I've always seen myself on the long track. Me doing this comedy stuff is just so someone else says, okay, what else you got? Then I say, okay, boom, I got this. I got movie ideas, video game ideas. I got a collectible card game. Like
it can't be an idea. You got
no. But again, and it is not just an idea. It has plans. And again, I've had to learn this over the years. So how do I expand this? Now I've had to learn how to build a business plan. Now I have business plans, character models. I can draw my idea. I can give you every motherfucking aspect of it. So when someone comes to me and says, give me what you got else or something else, I've got a comic book I tried to enter into a contest years ago. You know what I'm saying? That failed. Still got the art for that. Why? Because it's gonna come up sometime later.
Yeah, and I'm saying that time later is TikTok. Like I'm saying like the
now, but would you like? Okay, can I ask a question? Would you like to do Netflix? Like, would you like to do a movie? Like, would you like to be in a
No, I would like to have complete control over my fucking audience. I would like to be able to make content that's exactly mine. And if I went to Netflix, I'd want them to be saying, hey, Will, I want to fucking work with you. How do we make this happen? That's the only way that happens, because the biggest difference generationally, ideas aren't valuable anymore. They used to be. They don't even want to see the proof of concept anymore. I try to sell 2 TV shows, right? Went to Cannes, Barclays, all these. They still want to see, because everybody's having a hard time capturing people's attention. And so when you say the asses and seats, that's online or in any of these other, what's a narrative that I can take to a bank, right? And have that bank be like, okay, we will give you this much money to this production company. And it's by production company. Netflix doesn't buy whole shows. They work with tons of interlocutors under the, so the everything is so Byzantine and doesn't need to happen. I've had people I know have had their shows get completely canceled after it being written out in the Atlantic. Like, and it's like, so there's no certainty in that route. So what does social media have? It provides you a numeric way to show that you have value. It doesn't pigeonhole you as just a comedian, right? Because a lot of us are, you just said comic books, all these other things. I'm working on fucking anime.
Do you think it pigeonholes you to like maintaining a brand of sorts, like an aesthetic? Like once you build up a following of like 100,000 followers, let's just say like those 100,000 followers have certain expectations of what type of comedy you do. If let's just say one day you're like, I'm gonna switch up my style completely, you can piss off all your followers.
But your word. So here's the thing: is like that's a concern. But I have 210,000 followers, and I started it talking about anime, right? And I moved it to talk about post-structuralist philosophy. All right, and if I start doing some of the comedy that I do on stage, if I start posting some of the stuff, or some people can be like, no, yeah, undoubtedly, but that's the thing.
But you got to stay true to yourself.
It's partially stay true to yourself, but also, if they don't like it, it just won't be seen by that many people. I can still leverage that following to get opportunity, right? Like the thing is that like
I see that when I post things that I'm genuinely interested in, I get more feedback.
Exactly.
You know, but when I'm like chasing the crowd, like, hey, this is what they're talking about. No. It's like 4 or 5 because it's not genuine.
No.
You know.
But the thing is like comedians have such like fringe worries. So like I want you to think about this. Is like the first question comes from the assumption of success, right? You have enough followers to do all these other things. When you get to that place, then that person makes that decision, right? And you'll figure it out. But the thing is that when you're having a discussion of whether or not it's better that 100,000 people know who you are, vaguely whether or not they recognize you or not, they saw you and they clicked a button that said that they wanted to see you again. And you can just take that and you can use it in other realms, because part of the hard part about comedy, the scary part that it's actually really landed for me is like, when my friends say they're working on comedy, I have to ask, well, where is it going? 7 years ago,
Why
it's-
does it have to go somewhere? This? Why
No,
not
no, no,
make
no, no,
jokes
no.
for the sake of the pureness?
No, but we're talking about
instead
the
of having to commodify
no,
and make it. Make
No,
it
no, but what I'm saying is this: I don't disagree with you, but I am saying that there is a business component, and there are a
Yeah,
lot
you
of
have to think about both.
and there's a lot of people in here who you can walk away, and I've been in comedy for a long time, so I've seen it where it's weirdly thieved away a lot of time because it's a subculture that takes a lot of time,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And so, especially in New York, like there's cities where it's easier to be an amateur. In New York, it's an expensive,
Absolutely.
both in terms of
Absolutely.
time,
Absolutely agree.
and so there is a time where you have to think about how is this transacting for me? How am I setting my future self up for a good experience where they're able to do this and not hate it? Because I've seen it where people put all their eggs in comedy basket and they're keeping afloat, but they hate comedy because they find like they felt they signed up for the wrong ride, right? And so the reason why I'm such an advocate, I have friends who got 10 million followers over the pandemic, started from 1,000 something, got 10 million, and it changed their life and it changed everything that's available for them. And we did comedy in Iceland and all these other things. And the thing is that the relationship with freedom is completely different. Their relationship with time and everything, and it allows comedy to just be about comedy, not, oh, I need to make this, but I also need to worry about this, and I realize I haven't been on a date in like 2 years, and you know, what's all these other things. These are real concerns that happen and that are foisted onto people, and if we're not careful, we get in such a subculture and echo chamber that we don't realize it. And so that's what I really
I do think
I'm
it's
gonna teach you guys how to follow. After you end that thought, end it with a question.
yeah.
That's how you follow.
Yeah.
That's how you
Sorry,
follow.
you fucking up your podcast. man.
No, I'm just teaching.
You fucked up your podcast with
That's
your
how you
podcast
keep
with
the
smart
volley
people shit.
and not
Yeah.
keep them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Because after I finish the thought, then it's like, it's just a formula of conversation.
I
You know,
understand.
so it's not in the rant. It's like, oh yeah, there's other people.
Oh,
and then,
okay. Could I ask you several questions? So
Yeah.
you're currently doing.
You know what I mean?
You're
Yeah,
currently
teach
doing.
them how to
Anybody
talk.
else doing TikTok? Like you're the only one doing TikTok?
He does it really well.
Okay, so you said you're currently doing the. Okay, how long have you been doing TikTok?
So I started in 2020, March 2020.
Okay, like right before the pandemic.
Like literally right when the pandemic started.
Okay.
The pandemic TikTok.
Okay.
Is that
Do
a
you
thing?
do you want to remain on TikTok until you make your next move, or is there like another move in between this that you would like to make?
Well, so the moves in between. So I'm building out YouTube right now.
But he was a comic before TikTok.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm
he's
sure
just one of the comics that took
so
advantage of.
with comedian goals is like I'm still. So this is the hard part with like TikTok, and even though some of the like, followers have moved over to Instagram, it's just hard to represent poor bookers in the city without feeling douchey because you also so you're caught in this miasma. So I'm going to Edinburgh. I'm gonna I have a couple friends doing time out there. I'm gonna open for them, and then I'm going to try and get a place where I can do a weekly like 40-50 minute set, and then I want to start just going like more on the road. And you
Okay.
have that, like,
Are you on TikTok?
Okay, anybody else?
No, I don't ever want to.
Are you on no social? What is your lane? Where do you see yourself?
My lane is I never moved to New York to do comedy. I did New York because my friends started doing comedy, and I've always loved comedy. I do it for the love of it. I don't give a fuck about getting money or getting followers because I think that's just vanity. That's like attached to your ego.
Do you come
Like
from
I'm
money?
here,
Do you
I
come
could
from
die
money?
rich. No, I don't come from money.
So you just.
I'm just here. I'm here to tell jokes. I don't give a fuck about getting rich or getting followers. Like,
I mean, I
like,
got
Is it a hobby?
I'm just here to exist.
I
kinda love
it's for my
facts.
spirit. It's
Someone
like
do it.
make me not die internally.
Oh, see.
Seriously, I don't give a like. If I gave a fuck about making money, like I wouldn't be doing comedy.
No, I feel that.
I love comedy. I love comedy. I love comedy and hate poverty. So, like, if poverty were a person, I would fuck poverty up. I would beat the shit. I would go to his house. I would commit various assaults upon whoever poverty was for all the bad items I had to eat in the past. And if comedy is my way out.
But poverty is
No, bullshit. No, I'm with that. Okay, hold on. I love the idea of poverty being a mindset. Got it. Like the living state and how you live in it and what you do with it. Yeah, that's the mindset. No, living in the fucking ghetto is an address, nigga. There's no mindset behind that. It is a location. We'll drive past ghettos right now and be like, poverty, clear poverty. We'll drive through hoods that have businesses that no longer and will never again
there are
exist.
two types. There are people who exist there, and people who are there. No.
Again. So many people would leave the hood if they would just take a trip. They just to take a fucking trip. When niggas touch money, the first thing they do is go somewhere because we've never been. My first trip out of New York was to Vermont. Okay, I was like a kid. Technically, I had some younger ones. I think I went to Disney World when I was younger. But the first one I really vividly remember, I was signed up for this program called the Fresh Air Fund. It was in New York. I was born in New York.
There was a song for that, right?
Huh?
Was there a song for that?
I don't know. It might have been like a jingly shit. But it was in New York, and what happened was they would take like inner city kids, and they would bust off black and Latino asses, black and brown asses out of New York into like upstate New York, and like the younger people would go to families, like the older kids would go to summer camp. And when I got older, I went to a summer camp one year, and like hated, loved it. You know what I'm saying? You walk into the tent with white kids masturbating, you're like, oh, so life experiences are different. Oh wow, this is back out this one. But when you go to another family, I actually get to live with a family. I actually got to go back to them. Yeah, like for 3 years I went to the same family. They were called the Williamsons. Shout out to the Williamsons. Like if you ever guys see this, y'all find me and gotta love y'all.
That live looks really good.
They got me in the ace. That's my son.
Because right under the lighting.
Baby.
Yeah, I like, bro. I look like I'm a Super Saiyan, bro.
I get the arms.
I need that copy so I can edit these.
I got you. I'll make sure I send it. I'm gonna put it on my Instagram, and then you can just like download it from the. But I just love that shit. And again, we don't have the financial means to go places. Property is a fucking mindset. I think that one of the weirdest things about comedy in New York is that there's so many of us that don't come from good means. Like there's some of us that come from means, and they're just allowed to just go ahead and spend off money, whatever it is. And I'm in like a lucky situation and things are working out for me where I can do better stuff. But like I'm not like I don't have the money to go out and like a $10 bill open mic, you know what I'm saying? Some shit like that. And ironically, I don't think that limits me as much as I think it does, but there are certain limits to it. But I do think that it changes.
Makes you more creative.
And listen, Mike, and I say this, this is to any of y'all. No. Any of y'all want to do a YouTube channel about like, you know, Marshall Club? Like, you know, you've heard of the Marshall, and I'm like, yes. Like the Marshall Club. Okay, so the Marshall Club is a YouTube. They do they do like years ago they started doing like online like martial arts skits. Like they combine martial arts and comedy, and they do like kung fu movies. Like okay, I've always wanted to do YouTube. Like I wanted to use my YouTube.
What's that?
No, technically only timing. Right now it's just timing, and right now like everything is happening bad time, and it's just the worst time than ever.
Do a 1 minute one.
Do you know right now my Instagram has been putting my videos sideways? Yes, I've already lost one Instagram. I'm already down one. The original one I had, the Subway show, I lost that one to Nazis. Because I just have a
So they got you for it?
Yeah, because when you keep cursing them the fuck out, they just don't like you. Like, you know. And again, fuck Nazis in the face with fist if you have to, promise. My issue was that I just basically was like, you know, I'm not gonna curb myself. Like if you don't get the message from my comedy, then you're not gonna like what I have to say when I talk socially. And there's a me that wants to do my normal videos already I have on YouTube. There is I want to do like mini movies, like we can make it like we can do our own fucking Amazon and Netflix again. And I'm actually high five to your shit. That's awesome. And I agree. The digital media today allows for a lot more people to be creative and a lot more creativity. So all those movie ideas, like I have many movies that are going on YouTube. Like the second I get a chance, I do this shit by myself. Like I'll film myself.
Yeah, I was so
you don't need a whole crew.
But that's what I think is the advantage of social media. And I want to push back on like your thing where it's like, yeah, dude, like there was a time I was going out 4 or 5 times a night. But what I am also saying is the future does happen. And you have to as a comedian do due diligence and respect to your future self. by
Right.
thinking of those things. It's not just vanity, right? When you talk about poverty being an address, I've seen comics go into homelessness by not thinking about these things. And so it's just a very real thing, and that's why I'm like, this is free. This is the one generation that doesn't give a shit about it being polished. That never fucking happens. It never happens where, oh, we want to see something that's blurry over something that's on an 8,000D camera. Take advantage of it, right? Like that's, to me, I'm like, that when people say that it's vanity, I think it's also vanity to not, right? Where you can participate in this basically creation process that can reach tons of people and actually leave an experience with them and grow as a creative yourself, and then also secure a future for your future self to perform in the way in which you want.
Yeah,
I
it all
agree.
depends on your goals. Like how you, what is, because like your goal with comedy is probably a lot different from your goal.
Yeah.
Not my goal. Like, you don't, for sure. You don't,
What is your goal? I mean, give me the spice in there, because we know everybody else is basically.
So like, right now, I'm pretty new to it, so I'm just here to like, just for the ride. I've always loved comedy. I write,
You still gotta find his voice.
yeah, I make puppets, I make films and shit, so I'm gonna do
It's
stand-up.
coming. He's bubbling. He's gonna be something fierce.
Yeah.
Because he's got a skill. You know,
Well, and
he's got-
also you got an aesthetic like that, like even just how you're dressed right now, like, and it's an aesthetic that matches kind of like your demeanor, and that.
I said, I just want you to throw out that bit. I want you to throw out one bit. The fucking music, the this shit bit.
What bit? Oh, do that right now?
No, don't do it.
Oh.
Don't, I don't want you to never do it ever again.
Oh, throw it out?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like,
No.
I'll always play music.
You know what you get a Bluetooth.
I do have a Bluetooth.
Get a Bluetooth.
I wasn't. The thing is, I was lightning the bottle moment because I was like.
Because you lose the audience every time you do that. As soon as you
I
go.
mean,
I didn't think I know exactly the mic you're referencing. There's that comedy shop mic, and I did not lose the audience there. They actually gave me. They all clapped me in here. If you're thinking that one. But I use the JBL speaker because I think like the speaker is like technology is like an extension of ourselves at this point. So it's like using our phone and speaker on stage feels like it's just using me and just different parts of it. But I think my one pushback against you is I honestly think the umbrella of capitalism has us thinking about our life like it's a video game. Like it's like you got to get as much money as possible, as much followers as possible.
Especially
and it's
now.
like I don't think life is a video game. I think we're just here. We just are being. Like why you
I
guys
don't.
life like a video
So
game?
here's the thing. I don't disagree with you. Like, I grew my following talking about post-structuralist ideology. But
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is that the constraints that capitalism produce are real. And so
Right.
what I'm saying is this is like these are things that I feel I wish someone had told me to think about earlier, and I wish someone had given me this insight. So there were different ways I could have approached these things earlier. Because I've like the hard part is when you see people where you're like, oh, I saw the shadow behind the wall thing. It's way different than you think. And if it's fun and it's just a thing that you want to explore, that's completely great. But at a time, there's a weird part about life where it's like Carl Jung in his book, The Black Book, talks about, which is basically his attempt to make his own religion. And it's actually pretty fucking good. But one of the things he talks about is how the things that are sacred are the fact that things are undetermined, and your effort and your effectiveness. And it is basically the balancing, doing things where you don't know the outcome, right? Throwing yourself out there, living with your soul first, and kind of figuring out as you go, but also having a relationship with how much effort you're putting in and how effective that is over the long period to not isolate future selves, right? And that's the thing that I always think about is like, there is a future you that does come to existence, maybe, right? Like we could all die, but there's also the fact that they do come into life. And I think we sometimes do a disservice when we don't think about that person. And I think as a comic, it's hard because it's not fucking funny, right? Like it's actually kind of, it can get weird and dark, and it makes you into this weird headspace that we don't like to be in. And we just think it's gonna figure itself out, but that reality looks a lot different. Like it used to be Tim Allen did a 10-minute set, and it did change his life, and he was able to make a career success, and he was able to bring up friends and all these other things. But those things don't exist in the same way. And you were saying this too. Is comics don't fucking throw down a fucking ladder for fucking guys.
We don't do the ladder, man. We don't fucking do the ladder, bro.
And you saying it like that
We don't do the
really,
ladder, bro.
really hit me because it's just like,
When I
fuck.
came
Sorry.
into
I mean,
comedy-
Yeah, no, I mean,
actors
like, yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Actors. I mean,
When I came into this, I listened
We
to a
wanted
lot
to
of-
support. Like it's like it ain't even hard enough for y'all.
No, I listened to a lot of Zig Ziglar, and my favorite line of his. And I remember I'm sitting in a nice to drive the luxury car in a I was sitting in front of Chris Rock's house. I just dropped off his hand, just picked up his hand, and he was like, if you want to get what you want, you have to help enough people get what they want. You know, and the goal is helping as many people as possible. If you go into that mentality, it's like, yo, who can I help that can't do anything for me? And I love hearing that. I love just looking, and especially when people are like, yo, can I, you know.
But do you disagree?
I absolutely don't. I wanted to be true so bad, and I wanted.
It's like when people come and ask me for a spot, it was like, how?
That side wasn't a side of disagreement. That side was just a side of like small kids seeing a fucking plate of food on the other side, hungry kids seeing plate of food on the other. Like, I love that idea. I love that ideology. Like, I think the pay it forward.
Oh,
is, one of the I use this movie
Like,
as
you got a
reference a lot.
platform, this chair's here that you can fill with as many people.
And it's one of the worst. Right? Have you ever seen it? Pay it forward
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
years ago. Oh,
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
Okay.
I vaguely remember, or I remember my aunt telling me I need to watch it. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm remembering a lie of saying I watched the movie.
Okay, it's okay. Quick rundown. Kid like also makes like his own religion, like this weird religion where he decides he's gonna just do 3 good deeds to everybody. Like
It's based on a true story.
and I think it is based on, and I hope not. I pray to fucking God, I hope not.
No, it was a book. It was a book.
Look, the ending, whoever, or okay, because the end of the movie, the kid gets stabbed and dies. Like, spoiler alert, the kid gets stabbed and dies. You know what I'm saying? Which completely ruins the idea behind doing
I can't look it up.
three good
Hey,
deeds for
look it up,
everybody.
see if
Because
it's real.
3 good deeds, you get shanked and end up like a Jesus fucking.
Yeah, because you're kind of not paying attention. There is the part of the good deeds thing. There is the part, right? But there is also that darker part of humanity, right? And like that's one of the things I love about being a comedian is you walk on both sides of that shit, right? Like but like that. But to me, it's like, yeah, there is the being helpful thing and everything like that. But there is like you just gotta build your
I
own.
have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Do you remember like if there was a specific moment or that moment where you really decided, specifically when you started on TikTok, to really make that switch to how you kind of promoted your own self and your comedy? What kind of gave you that sense of like, you know what, I feel ready, or I feel the confidence, or like this just feels like what I need to do next for myself and where I want to be going?
That's a great question. And so the first time it happened, I was hanging out with this comic in Chicago who I thought, like, you know, he was a full-time comic and we were just hanging out, and I listened to him talk about his life, and he was saying like basically don't be a comedian, right? Like, and this was like my first 6 months in. He's like, bro, like everybody's looking at me like he's like, dude, I have a house in an apartment in Iowa, and like I'm trying to put together all these different shows and things like that. He's like, my life is hanging on my fumes, and he was like, dude, like and he was both a prophet about what was going to happen in comedy. He said everybody's going to be getting TV sets, but no one's going to be getting paid. And then like, and all this other stuff.
What was this?
I don't want to like, but he finished off by talking about like social media. And so then I was like, okay. And so I had already grown a following on Quora before that, and I had done stuff on Twitter back when. And so when TikTok came about, and basically when I was convinced that was going to be the next big thing, because how addictive it was, that's when the lockdown went down. I was just like, I'm moving my efforts just to here, and then I had a hive of friends that we basically went
Shared
through. We shared, but also we're very critical about each other's videos to like help them grow and shit like that. Yeah, and then
you did the cluster.
and everybody's situation completely changed, and they're full-time creatives now and everything like that, and so that I just saw it happen. And the part that I think about it as like, man, before that I was trying to do digital courses online. I was like, I had my book thing out and everything like that. It completely changed the trajectory of my life.
All that funneled into that.
Exactly.
Idea. Like you had to go through that to get to where.
And YouTube, here's the thing: YouTube is a place for technocrats. It's a place for people with technique, like actual like skill with camera. TikTok, it's actually not that. It's actually for weird people who know how to use a camera. Which is like, so like you end up like when I hang out with my friends from TikTok, it's like, oh, these are just real alien weird people that like their message is what like was the thing that like caught on to people. And so like I'm like, yeah, man, like to me it's like a dream setup, right? You can have a clip from Bitter End, throw that up there, and get like 2 million views, and like and like I don't do the clip comedy thing. For me, it was more of the daily thing, and I want to grow my following. I have a lot of creative interests outside of comedy. It was about building a base of people that were into me, right? That was the most important part.
You found your people.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's a,
Well,
it's a
I mean,
nurturing
every
process,
three-
and dude, it's a lot. You have to do like 18 different things. You're constantly existentially worried because like comedy, you can kind of focus on when I
You,
get
you
to
kind of
writing.
have a cult.
Yeah.
People. Because I read through your comments, it was like, I totally get this guy. I was like, Bill.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's so funny though. It's like
He's
they don't even know.
I fucking love this guy's voice.
Yeah,
I was like,
right.
and you can see, like, I can see these people. It's just in white cloth, just following you around.
But like that, the thing that's hard about with content creation is that like you don't chase symbols anymore. And it doesn't sound like you're talking about it, but there are things in comedy that used to motivate me. When I remember I wanted to get on Conan, I thought like that was the thing where I was like, if I got on Conan, then everything would be different.
Yeah, like a certain specific milestone.
Exactly, and
And
you don't-
now you're basically charting uncharted territory. It's not a
Exactly.
TikTok milestone because we are the test stage.
Exactly. And then also like this is the thing is like when you get more institutional support, you get more canceled. Right? Like that the problem the thing
They're
is
just waiting for you.
Yeah.
Say some crazy shit.
Yeah, bro. I mean, dude, like you know, like yeah, like dude, I said, like, existing as a comedian on the internet is
Come
terrible
protect
for the
Bill.
future.
How is building this following on TikTok like affected your relationships with like friends and
Made them better. No, like it's made my relationships better. The people I've met through it have made me a better person. I've dated it's
Getting laid.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, Bill gets.
I'm getting laid.
Billy's the Billy.
Somebody get there. I'm over here.
This other shit.
But it like all this stuff, it's fundamentally made me a better person. Because also producing that much stuff, like I made maybe altogether like 700, 800 videos. That going through the process
How
of
much
making
time do you spend on a video?
depends. I've spent days on videos. I've also spent like 30 seconds. And like what sucks is like some of the videos that I try the hardest with, people do it lands people. Those people they comment they're like, this is like that knowledge crap. But then like you make some like stuff you don't even care about. You kind of almost feel sinful about producing it, and then it goes like viral, and you're like, yeah, you know,
It's the weirdest shit. It's
Yeah.
like, this, and it
right.
keeps showing up. It's like, I wish you guys stop watching this.
Yeah, right.
I got one. I was like, they're still watching this.
Oh, people are like, fighting. When people fight in your comment section, that's interesting.
Yeah, oh my God,
Yeah.
what the fuck? I had 2 or 3
Yeah.
videos that happened.
Yeah.
Dog. One of those videos is what I got. Well, technically,
Spirals out.
one of those videos it started, argument started on one page on Instagram and then it went over to another because I made an Instagram video about it.
Yeah.
And it went very bad.
Yeah.
So it went very bad.
is this related to the Nazi stuff?
This was related to them.
It's always
This was related to
It's
them.
always
I feel really bad. I had this question about legacy, and I was going to ask: do you think that a comedian? Do you think that there's any comedian like? Do you think that legacy protects a comedian from criminality?
What do you mean, legacy?
Like
No,
a Bill
definitely
Cosby.
not. No.
And I feel like a Bill Cosby.
No.
No, in fact, I think that like legacy shit, like you've been around so long, you're even more
It's the
susceptible.
last one.
Even more susceptible to that stuff because like people don't want to hear from you after you've been around so long. Like, oh, you're old news, you know, like you're like what's
Unless you reinvent yourself, like
Yeah.
how Carlin reinvented himself.
yeah, which is and that happens very rarely, way more rarely than like Bill Cosby, for example.
I think Bill Cosby's about to do his special.
Oh yeah.
I hope he does that.
He has to.
I want to see what
He
he's
has
talking
to.
about.
I don't want.
He has to.
I don't want to see it.
I think you should. I think you should just
He's gonna come to
totally
the
die.
podcast. We give
I'm
him
sorry.
time
Yeah,
to make
listen,
podcast.
listen. The guy fucking told me ABCs. I kind of want you. I don't. I go die may be strong, but go to jail for a very long time.
You
And
should
then,
apply for a job in the Supreme Court. They hire rapists there.
Hey,
Let's wrap this
Zinger.
up. Thank you guys for being angels and just showing up, making this what it is. Tell them where they can find you, what you're working on.
You can find me on YouTube under Cold Sober. It's where all the puppet stuff is.
The puppet
Cold
stuff.
Sober YouTube.
He's gonna have a puppet open mic soon.
That's not
For
true.
all the puppeteers.
Yo,
We just need
I got
one.
that.
I just I got paperback puppets. Okay, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me tonight at the Jimmy People Show at Bennnett at midnight, or at Patrick Thomas Golden on Instagram.
Oh, also, yeah, sorry. I also do spots at Broadway Comedy Club and here at the People Show and the fucking Grizzly Bear.
Oh, okay. Do it. Yeah.
You can find me on random street corners. I am still selling this sweet ass. It is. I'll get out of comedy right now if enough of you buy this.
Get an
sexy
OnlyFans?
ass.
Are you gonna get an
I'm working on
OnlyFans?
that. I got a Pornhub. Okay, I don't have an OnlyFans yet. Dicks and tiny hats. because it's Big Dicks and Tiny Hats. You can also find me on Instagram at Die
Can't
Subway
wait to see
Show.
that.
I also got a show coming up, actually. I got a show coming up on the...
Did I mention Coney Island show?
You did with the Coney, it's okay. Another Coney Island show. I got every first Tuesday of the month and second Thursday of the month. I have a show at the Daily Press in Brooklyn, 38 Summers. I have a show at Coney Island Brewery at Coney Island. The address is Coney Island, nigga, because I mean, fuck up.
Wow.
They went side track.
Do it. Talk.
You guys can find me on Instagram, Billy Beteet, and on TikTok, and same thing. And YouTube, the Holocron.
Yeah, that is it.
The Holocron.
The Holocron. We're gonna, you guys are friends to the room. You got something?
Wakanda forever. Welcome to
You
the
don't have nothing.
Strawberry
no.
milk every day, baby.
Another episode of the People's Mic. Thank you for watching, hanging out. We'll be back next week, and